Шановні колеги, полковник Андрій Лисенко.
Dear colleagues, Colonel Andriy Lysenko,
The National Security and Defense Council Information Center spokesman, with the update from the ATO zone. Прошу, пане Андрію.
Доброго дня.
Good afternoon, dear colleagues. Yesterday in Minsk, negotiations of President of Ukraine Petro Poroshenko took place with the leaders of Belarus, Kazakhstan, Russia, and representatives of EU. During the meeting, they talked about the three key questions: peace and security in the region, closure of the Ukrainian-Russian borders, and the liberation of prisoners and hostages. Summing up the results, the President of Ukraine emphasized that Ukraine demands decisive actions that may bring peace to Ukrainian soil. According to the President, the sides agreed to make more active the activity of trilateral contact group. As a result of the negotiations, the consultations should start between the heads of general staffs through the trilateral contact group in order to reach the bilateral ceasefire controlled by the monitoring mission of the OSCE. The situation in the south, in Novozovsk and Mariupol, after yesterday's battles, the Ukrainian army is in the positions of the village of Bezymenne. The highway Novozovsk-Mariupol is under our control. The mixed mobile groups of law enforcers, military, and National Guards organized the checkpoints on the most dangerous directions of the possible movement of enemy into Mariupol. The Novozovsk city is being shelled both from Russia and from the positions on the Ukrainian territory. However, the city is still under control of our forces. Yesterday, to Mariupol, the first operative brigade of the National Guards arrived with a new armored machinery that went to the zone of the anti-terrorist operation after the Independence Day celebrations. At the moment, the situation in Mariupol is calm and under control. The transport and enterprises of the city are working in the usual regime. To the north of Novozovsk, Russians and terrorists captured the villages Markinakovsky, Sherbak, Klimkina, Sedovo, Vasilevka, Kuznetsy, Rosa, Luxembourg. From the territory of the Russian Federation, they are massively shelling the villages Guselchikovo, Sedovo, Obryv, and Holodne. The drones of Russian armed forces are correlating the firing. At the same time, the battles are taking place in the vicinity of Starobesheva, Keoleneva, Marinka, Zhdanivka, Luhansk, Donetsk, and Lysenko. We continue defensive action to retain Novosvitlivka and Khrushchevata. The ATO units are working in the Rodokova, Lyria, and Malomykolaievka settlements. There are combat actions in order to retain control over the city of Ilovaisk and the approaching highways. Yesterday, the terrorists tried to attack the road checkpoint next to Andriy, Donetsk region. The attack was repelled. 8 militants and their arms were seized. As a result of fire attacks of Ukrainian artillery not far from Horlivka and Ilovaisk, 3 tanks, 1 armored personnel carrier, 2 Grad batteries, 4 mortars, 1 car, and 1 Smerch battery were destroyed. Smerch is the battery of 300 millimeter caliber, which fires the forbidden cassette ammunition. almost 200 terrorists were killed. Over the last day, the anti-terrorist operation forces exchanged fire 34 times with the terrorists next to Новосвітлівка, Новозаводськ, Красний Яр, Станічна, Луганський, Вергунський роз'їзд, Мар'янка, Андріанополь, Стила, Макарова, Комісарівка, Широке, Авдіївка, Георгіївка, Федорівка, and Luhansk and Donetsk airports. Donetsk militants, together with Russian invaders, seized the settlement of Starobesheva, Donetsk region. The local hospital was destroyed. The wounded were preliminarily evacuated to Mariupol and Berdyansk. The Amvrosivka settlement was entered by 5 Russian APCs and 1 lorry with personnel. If this tactical group was also lost their way and found themselves on the territory of Ukraine by chance, then we have to remind them that they can go back to Russia if they go straight to the east. They continue shelling the Ukrainian territory from the direction of the Russian Federation. Apart from Novoazovsk, they also shelled state bodyguards and armed forces in Kolesnikov and Yuhanivka. Yesterday at 10:20 a.m., next to Kochkarske, Donetsk region, there was a battle between border patrol and a group of terrorists. After the reinforcements came, the militants retreated. Russia continues to amass its military presence in the borderland. They have amassed their armored machinery in mostly Rostov region. At the same time, we know the lessening of the military presence of Russian units in some regions, Belgorod, Kursk, Voronezh, and Bryansk regions. The Russians are reinforcing their positions in the vicinity of the city of Jankoy and in the north of the temporarily occupied Crimea. Rumors are spreading about possible combat. Yesterday, we also saw the violation of airspace of Ukraine by the army aviation of the armed forces of Russian Federation in the vicinity of Chervony Cheban, Kherson region, where they flew into the territory of Ukraine to the distance up to 500 meters, 3 helicopters of the Russian Federation. The pension fund of Ukraine, as of the 26th of August, are working in Donetsk region in the premises of the Mariupol department and Starobesheva department. They are also working in everywhere in Donetsk region except Gorlivka, Toretsk, Kharkiv, Zhdanivka, Kirovsk, and Inakivo, as well as in Yasenuvat and Yasenuvat district and Shakhtarsk region district in Luhansk region, also on the remote mode. The chief department of the pension fund is working. They are also working in Krasny Luchin Anthracite and Anthracite district. At the moment, the general number of Ukrainian citizens displaced from the Autonomous Republic of Crimea and Sevastopol to other regions amounts to 17,000 people, including 5,000 children, and the number of displaced persons from the anti-terrorist operation zone to other regions is more than 115,000 people, including almost 40,000 kids. From the 6th of July, the pyrotechnical units of the State Emergency Service in Donetsk and Luhansk regions detected and confiscated more than 16,000 units of ammunition and explosive devices. Russian commanders of Regiment 331 of Division 98 of the armed forces of Russia, who were detained on the 25th of August, are already in one of the Kiev detainment places, and Ukrainian journalists talked to them and they shared with them about what they think about their command. We lost 13 people yesterday, and 36 Ukrainian fighters are wounded.
What is the situation in Ilovaisk? Are the people evacuated and wounded? The assistance for the forces which are in Ilovaisk was sent. Some of wounded were evacuated, but because there are active warfare going on there, we have the information that there are more wounded, and the operation on evacuating the wounded and sending additional forces continues. Have you identified the prisoners of war who were sent to Donetsk Oblast? On the 24th of August, we identified some of the military who were in this action in Donetsk. There are facts. The people who were there were recognized, but most of them have not been identified. And there's the information that they were using the prisoners who they took from the detention facilities in Donetsk region. Another question on Ilovaisk. Could you specify which assistance goes there? We cannot specify that because immediately this will be known by our enemy. They monitor this information, and all the information that we give, we do not disseminate very specific information. Our main task is to provide assistance, but we do not talk about what 1+1. Could you please can you confirm the information that on the territory of Donetsk region, a convoy of 100 armored vehicles crossed the border? A day ago, there was a convoy of approximately 100 units of military vehicles which were close to Gukovo in Rostovsk region, but the information about this convoy crossing the border, we do not have. This information hasn't been confirmed. And the second question, today there was the information that the equipment from Lugansk machine building plant was transported. The Russian convoy wasn't stealing it, but the owner of the company evacuated it to Chuvashia. Do you know anything about that? Is there any additional information about this cartridge plant in Lugansk and the plant Topaz? The information that from these plants, that at these plants they were disassembling the equipment. There was the information, but we don't have the information about taking this equipment outside of Ukraine. But we can say that about 100 kilometers at the Ukrainian-Russian border, there are two passing points which are destroyed on Ukrainian side, and we do not exclude the information that these passing points are used by Russians. What about the Savur-Mogila Mount? This mount is all the time attacked by terrorists. The Ukrainian military repelling these counterattacks.
America. I was wondering if you could elaborate on information about Russian forces reinforcing positions near Crimea. If I heard that right, you said there are rumors spreading of possible combat. I'm just wondering if you could give us some more details about how they're enforcing those positions, what you're seeing. Thank you.
Дякую за запитання. We have the information from our sources which are on the territory of the Autonomous Republic of Crimea that these military units are getting more active. There's movement there, and the aerial intelligence is conducted using the drones, which from the territory of Crimea fly to the continental part of Ukraine. They do conduct intelligence, and from the experience we know, once there is intelligence, we can expect some actions from another side. We are ready to that. Do you know anything about some green men? There was information that they are there. The green man near checkpoint at Koloske village. It's where the Russians were detained. We will check that information. We don't have any information yet. One more question. Це англійською знову.
Can you be a little bit more specific about what's going on regarding the mixed forces that have seized villages in around Markine?
Repeat around what?
He was saying. I'm sorry. You were saying earlier that there were mixed Russian and DPR forces that had taken a village sort of north of Novoskosk. Wondering if you could be a little bit more specific about what had occurred there.
Дякую за запитання. In this direction, the situation is very tense. Here's the village Bezimene, Novoazovsk, and that's where the military combat is with the terrorists and with the representatives of the armed forces of Russian Federation. The day before yesterday, 10 Russian military were detained, and they are now at the security service of Ukraine. But the situation here is very tense. They are shelling from the territory of Russian Federation, from Grad systems. They're shelling Novoazovsk and close by territories. The distance between Novoazovsk and Mariupol is approximately 60 kilometers. That distance is controlled by Ukrainian forces, that area. Now we have the additional brigade from the National Guards with heavy vehicles, and that's enough to defend the southern part of Ukraine. If we need more, then more forces will go there. But that section is controlled. But it's all the time being attacked from the territory of Russia and by terrorists who also feel the support of Russian Federation. Any more questions?
McLaughlin from the Irish Times. I think the previous question referred to an area just north of there. There are some villages around Rosa Luxemburg, I think, and Markina, no? That there was a suggestion that actual Russian forces, little green men so-called, had entered those villages with armored vehicles. Is that correct? Do you have any more details on that? Thank you.
The Markine is here. It's near the border. It's 5 or 6 kilometers away from the state border. We have the information that Russian military crossed the border. They were trying to reinforce this area, but we don't have the final information about whether they were withdrawing or are they still there. They are moving all the time, and that we don't have the information about that. Okay, the next information will be at 5 o'clock from Mr. Lysenko, and the next press briefing in 5 minutes.